Hi, my name is Riza Santos, host of Studio Luma's show, Illuminate. I can't wait to welcome our first guest, Justine Tyrell. She's going to be opening the show with her song, Worthy. Stay tuned because I'm going to be interviewing her and she's going to close the show with some amazing performances.
If you could have stayed who you were in the start, and baby, then you might have been worthy of my heart. Something like a Bonnie body, and you were my Clyde. Don't stop for nobody, know that I was done to write and writing. If you could have stayed who you were in the start, but all of these smoke and mirrors, finding numbers now we're here. Yeah, I just wanted honesty, ain't that what you promised me? And why waste my tears on you? I know that I'm worth it, and I know I deserve it. I just wanted L-O-V-E, someone who knows how to treat me. And I know that I'm worth it, and I know I deserve it. I just wanted L-O-V-E, someone who knows how to treat me, treat me. If you could have shown, let me know who you are. Instead, hide your love away and do me dirty in the dark. Used to know that body, used to know you're mine. Hit me with the sorry, boy, don't waste my time. If you could have shown, let me know who you are. But all of these smoke and mirrors, finding numbers now we're here. Yeah, I just want honesty, ain't that what you promised me? And why waste my tears on you? And I know that I'm worth it, and I know I deserve it. I just want L-O-V-E, someone who knows how to treat me. And I know that I'm worth it, and I know I deserve it. I just want L-O-V-E, someone who knows how to treat me, treat me. And I know that I'm worth it, and I know I deserve it. I just wanted L-O-V-E, someone who knows how to treat me. And I know that I'm worth it, and I know I deserve it. I just wanted L-O-V-E, someone who knows how to treat me, treat me.
Hi, Justine.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing so good.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So you had such an incredible performance.
Thank
We're looking
you.
forward to the closing performance.
Yes, yes. It was so fun to do that. And it's crazy too because I'm really realizing, I'm like, wow, I haven't performed in a live setting in so long that the energy is just so nice. It was good. It was refreshing to do.
Definitely. Do you ever get nervous getting on stage?
You know, I do. And the funny thing is I find that bigger audiences usually I feel less stressed out about them. It's, I don't know, it's something about like small, intimate rooms when you can like look the person in the eyes, you can see their facial expression. those ones usually give me more nerves than some of my biggest shows that I've done.
Oh,
so short answer is yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
I would feel the same way, I think. You could see micro expressions close up.
Totally.
So I'm curious, how did you get into music? And did you always know that you could sing? How did you discover that?
Good question. Short answer is yes. I've always kind of known that that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I felt kind of called to. So I wrote my first song when I was, I think, around 7 or 8 years old. And I think that's when it really, when I saw the song didn't suck, that was a great first step. But it was around that age that I realized I love to write. I love to put my feelings and I love to put what I'm observing and taking in around me into song. And then it was right around that same time that I sort of realized that I could sing by seeing how good I was at imitating other singers. Oh, and so, and so I would sing along and I would try to kind of mimic what I was hearing. And then it was sometime around that 7, 8, 9 years old that my parents put me into lessons and I started fostering it. But it's always been what I've wanted to do. It's always been what I've wanted to do. Even when I've had pit stops of kind of finding other things that I'm interested in, there's been nothing that has called to me the way that music has. So it's kind of been a lifelong relationship.
Nice. Yeah. So where does your inspiration come from? Because you write your own songs.
Yes. It comes from everywhere. So I feel like a lot of artists will write very literally, you know, this is what I'm going through right now, and you write a song about it. There are some artists that remove themselves and they kind of create stories and they're more storytellers. And then I feel like there's artists that are kind of a fusion of both. And I think I sit somewhere in the middle where a lot of the inspiration for my songs is personal. It's experiences that I've went through, or it's like watching family or friends or people close to me. And then there's a side of it that's a little bit kind of storytelling and you're kind of imagining a scenario. I had seen, I mean, this is kind of creepy in retrospect to say, but I had seen one time I was looking out my window and I saw a young couple, like they were teenagers, and they were disagreeing about something in the street and it like looked all dramatic and she stormed away and he chased after her. And that moment also inspired a story for me. And I thought, I wonder what it is that they're fighting about. I wonder what he's saying to try to get her to come back. When she comes back, I wonder what's going through her head. And so sometimes I put together songs and stories, kind of just being a fly on the wall, being a creepy fly on the wall. When I say it like that, I'm like, that's so weird. But yeah, life. Exactly. Observing life 100%. And so yeah, it's usually that fusion of both for me. And I find that I'm really drawn to writing about kind of melancholy topics or like the heartbreak, you know, the moments that I look back on and I kind of have to unbox. That stuff is so much easier for me to write about than writing like a happy song or just an easygoing love song where everything's good. I don't know why, but I always dig into conflicted feelings when I'm writing. Even my love songs, kind of quote unquote, have a bit of a torn aspect to them. So yeah, I don't know. I gravitate to that stuff. It's my thing.
That's interesting. Well, it makes for really great storytelling, that emotional aspect.
Totally.
Where do you see yourself taking your music?
The grand question. The grand question. I mean, this is what I want to do career-wise forever, you know? And so obviously I picture a post-COVID world where we can tour again and where, you know, I can travel. And before COVID hit, we were performing in New York. I was getting to see some different cities and meeting different fan bases and fan groups and everything. So I'd love to continue to doing more of that. But really just kind of having a commercially successful, I guess, go at my career. But also I want to be able to create the feeling that I remember getting when I was first discovering some of my favorite musicians and my favorite singers. So like I remember finding some of my favorite artists and like unboxing a CD and like flipping through the CD booklet and you go through the pictures and the stories and yeah, you like the music and you like the artist, but you kind of get invested in the story and they create a little bit of a world for you. And so for me, when I think about my career and obviously you want commercial success, we all do, we're all chasing it, but I want to be able to create that same kind of spark in someone else that I felt and create that behind the scenes and create that story building and a community behind it. So short answer is I want to take the music all the way, commercially successful, but yeah, I want to kind of reignite that spark in someone else that I had when I first fell in love with music.
Of course. Yeah.
That's very meaningful.
Yeah.
So we were chatting earlier about how things have affected us as artists, musicians, with the global pandemic. And I'm sure it's taken a toll on everyone to some degree on their mental health. And I know that's a cause that's very important to you.
Yeah, I think it's been realizing that now is probably the worst time to try to have a cloak and a veil with other people. And especially when it comes to social media, that's where I first started to really think about it and reflect about mental health. Because I would have days where, everybody goes through highs and lows and ups and downs, but where the lows felt harder to climb out of. Mm-hmm. And then I was finding myself going on social media and going on Instagram and being like, oh my gosh, like great day in the studio today. Like, taking a selfie and doing all these fun things, but I was only showing the highlight reel, which I think we're conditioned to do, right? But what got me thinking about that is I felt so alone, and I felt like it was only me who felt as low as I did, even though I know better. I know we're in a global pandemic and everybody's so impacted by it. But I remember a shift when I saw an artist that I look up to. She started sharing more about her down days, as we call them, or the dark days, or, even just something as simple as like talking about all of the doors that you knocked on that never opened up for you. Mm-hmm. Seeing that, I was like, that gives me a sense that it's not just me and I'm not alone and I don't have to mask and I don't have to fake it. By no means do I have it figured out. I'm not saying that. Like, you'll still definitely see a lot of highlight reels from me too, but it got me thinking that if I can acknowledge the low days for me, maybe it makes it easier for someone else to do that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so mental health I think is important to me just because I recognize that mine wasn't in a great space and I felt almost like ashamed about it. I felt like I had to hide it. I felt like I couldn't talk about it. I felt like I definitely couldn't show it on social media. So now I just think it's so important that we understand that we're hurting together. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we all have the highlight reel, but we're also going through the lows together. And there's power in talking about that. And there's power in being vulnerable. And, I'm the kind of person that I'm like, when I need help, I don't ask for it. I'm very stubborn. I don't like to show people the crappy stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I'm trying to work on that just for myself. And I hope that lets other people know that if you suffer in silence, if your mental health is not in a great space, there's no shame in talking about it. No shame in getting some help for it. No shame in all of that. But yeah, it's felt like a taboo that we're not supposed to publicize. And I hate that. And I just it makes my skin crawl to try to pretend on days when I'm not, my head's not in a good space. I want to be able to just say that, How
did it feel to be liberated from that?
It felt like all the things in the moment. Mm-hmm. I actually just a few days ago, I kind of wrote this thing that just said, I become really sort of reclusive and I retreat into myself and, just sharing my perspective with mental health and that it's been a journey and it hasn't all been easy. And I felt so free after saying that. And I feel like the amount of support that you get in return and the amount of people that kind of step up and say like, hey, I've been feeling like that too. Mm-hmm. And I didn't feel like I can share it and I didn't feel like I can talk about it. And I didn't feel like you went through that. So now we have that open communication. So yeah, it felt like a bit of a weight off of my chest. And then I feel like I can just show up as me, and I don't have to say like, oh, I'm having a down day, but I better put on more makeup and do a great cover and just not acknowledge it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it felt very freeing and also terrifying. Because there's that too.
Of course, yeah. With anything. But there's so much authenticity to that. And I think that's something that people really appreciate. Totally. And they can sense, I can sense the genuineness coming from you.
Thank you. And you too. And that's exactly that. You're so right. People can sense that. And especially in a time where we're already cut off from each other, right? We don't get to see very much of our friends and our family and have those genuine connections. I think the last thing we should try to do in our cyber connections is be disgenuine. And again, I'm not coming from a place where I have it all figured out because I do mask as well. It's like my defense mechanism. But all we have is what we're portraying to each other. So let's just come authentically, But yes, it's still very much a journey, not preaching.
Oh, no. And it is for everyone.
It is.
It's every day.
Totally. Absolutely. And it's hard because I feel like when it comes to social media and it comes to all that stuff, there's been a bar that's been set. And so I think it's going to take some work for all of us to kind of deconstruct that and realize that just because we're expected to behave a certain way or only talk about certain things, like we're also the generation that rebels. So now we're deciding it's cool to be authentic. Let's do that. You know? So,
oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I guess you've probably had a lot of time because you're not out touring and performing to think and to plan where you're going next with your music.
Yeah.
Are you able to give us a sneak peek on where you want to take your music, maybe topics or
yes,
how
for
you
sure
feel about things?
For sure. So I just released what was my debut EP about a month ago, actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that was really exciting. And then, yeah, kind of the dreaded what's next question. I've been asking myself that too. I'm like, well, what do you do? But I have had time to think about it, and a couple things. So we want to release kind of a live immersive show that includes everything from the EP, that's really tailored in terms of visuals, all of that kind of stuff. So we're going to do something like that later in the fall. I'm hoping that when life resumes a little bit, we can tour again. And then we'll be working on kind of my first full-length record for next year. And so kind of the in-betweens of that, I mean, that I don't know, but at least essentially it's more music, it's creating more visuals, more time writing. I'm back in the studio now, so kind of doing all that. But I'd also, in a perfect world, would love to do some bigger collaborations. I have a couple like dream collabs.
Oh, could you tell us?
Yes, I can. We're putting it in the universe. We're hoping that they are listening. There's an amazing artist named Masego. Love him. So Masego, if you're listening, holler at your girl. She's ready. And Drake would be an absolute dream collab. But I think doing more collaborations in general, more co-writes and that kind of stuff, because again, kind of on the topic of feeling isolated, creatively isolated. I mean, creatively, I've kind of isolated myself a bit too. So that's also a goal. I want to have goals that I achieve on my own, but I also want to co-write. I want to have features and do more of that stuff. So yeah, that'd be my dream.
Oh yeah.
That'd be so fun.
Yeah, that would be so much fun.
So shout out Drake, like have your people call my people.
Yeah, he could be listening.
You never know, right? You never know. Totally.
Do you have any artists that have inspired you?
Yes, I do. I would say my go-to artist would be Aaliyah. She is, I mean, I remember the moment that I first heard her music and I just absolutely fell in love. So Aaliyah, I think, is where I draw a lot of my inspiration from, and just everything musically, but everything about her presence and her grace. She's the forever queen, period. Daniel Caesar is another one of my favorites. Love Daniel Caesar. And Amy Winehouse was one of my major influences, particularly when it came to performing live, one. And secondly, when it came to finding my authentic voice, because kind of bringing it back to when I first started realizing like, oh, hey, I love to sing and like I can sing. I don't sound half bad when I was a kid. That imitation thing where you're trying to figure out like, what's my vocal identity? What's my artistic identity? And the one thing that I learned from Amy Winehouse is your superpower is just being you. And that was, I mean, when she would sing, sometimes she falls out of key. Sometimes her notes are imperfect and they're gravelly and they're all of these things. And I remember listening to her music and thinking, oh my God, what if she tried to model herself after another great like Mariah or Whitney or someone before her? You wouldn't have her, you wouldn't have Amy. Or like if, I don't know, Aaliyah was trying to be Christina or whatever, you wouldn't have the uniqueness to their voice. So that was one of the gifts that I took from Amy, is just embracing the meanness and not feeling like I have to sound like someone else. So although genre-wise, because I know she's kind of like R&B, but also a bit jazzy, I'd say that I don't take as much literal inspiration from her, but it's more what she was about and what she represented for me, that I am like, I take that with me everywhere.
Oh, that is such a great description.
Oh, she's amazing.
Yeah, I've never really thought of it that way because like as a vocalist, you have a lot of vocal ability and range. So sometimes it's hard to figure out where you fall on maybe the spectrum, or what genre, or even what direction to take your music.
Totally.
And it takes a lot of time and planning.
Yes.
To write music, to go through the whole process.
You're so right. And it's like, it's time, it's planning. And there's also this trial and error element that I think that's the part that I was the worst at, because I do like to plan and I do like to envision, you know, this is the kind of artist I want to be. And this is, like you said, you can sing in different ranges, you can kind of take different approaches. So I spend a lot of time thinking about what I wanted to be earlier in my career, and less time just like being what I am, you know? And so that was the part that was so valuable, is you just kind of go out there and do it, and you realize what your quirks are, and you realize, you know, the things that maybe I thought were flaws in my voice that other people started to identify as a signature or something that's great. And you kind of just figure it out as you go. But you're so right. Being a singer, being an artist in general, you have to think like, oh man, there's all these ways I could take it, but what way feels the truest to me, you know? Yeah. But I hear, you know, I've heard even before people be like, oh, do you ever do like songs where you just belt, or like, do you do like Whitney and, you know, do like a Mariah moment? And I'm like, no, because you know who does a Mariah moment? Mariah, you know, and like, bless them, they're so talented. But for me, I just gravitate to like where my voice and my soul feels the truest. You know, I leave that stuff to the queens too. They do what they do brilliantly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have a brilliant voice as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think, like you said before, it all comes back to that authenticity and really being grounded in knowing who you are and being confident in that.
Totally. So important.
Yeah,
so important.
For sure. Yeah. And I think that probably, it reflects in your music as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope so. Like, that's, even when we're trying to decide, when we're in the room, what type of song we want to write, what's the vibe, what's the mood. At the end of the day, I just want it to translate as authentic, right? And as true. And yeah, as long as it's coming through that way, that makes me happy. So I'm happy to hear that.
For sure. How would you describe your style overall? Because you're very stylish. I like your outfit, your hair, your music style. I think it's kind of all cohesive together.
Thank you. That is a really good question. I would describe, I gravitate to moody. So I always use that kind of sound, or that description of moody, nocturnal. I'm very much a night person. I write most of my stuff in the most inconvenient hours. Like, I get inspired at like midnight. Wow. And then I'm just on a path, a creative war path for like 4 or 5 hours. And I feel like a lot of my music reflects kind of that like nighttime, darker type of vibe. But yeah, I'd say my style is moody. I would say, I do like a little bit of the early 2000s R&B influence. I like to take it back to that. So a little bit throwback, a little bit moody, and soulful. I try to pour my soul into whatever I'm singing. And so I think that's also a bit of a common thread. So yeah, moody, nocturnal, soulful, a little throwback R&B.
Yeah, I see that for sure. Yeah. I hear that in the songs.
Totally.
Do you have like a dream location that you would like to perform?
That's a really good question. One that I should start thinking about again, because I used to think of that all the time, and then COVID, and then I was like, I'm only going to perform for my bedroom forever. No. I mean, New York was pretty amazing, and that for a while was one of my like goals, was to perform in New York, to perform in Brooklyn. So having done that was pretty incredible. I would say perhaps I'm stumped. But no, you know what? Absolute goals, 2 of them actually. Madison Square Garden.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Why am I acting like I haven't thought about this? I thought about this.
It's so iconic.
It is. It's so iconic. And secondly, Coachella.
Oh.
That
you know what? That would be a dream. Oh my gosh, that me too.
Right? Okay, I might even change the order. I'm actually going to go Coachella first. And then we'll throw in Madison Square Garden if we've got time. But like Coachella would just be, yeah.
Have you ever been? I've never been to Coachella.
I haven't either. Word on the street is apparently we're going next year. I don't know, cannot confirm or deny, but I think I'm going next year. But I've only just seen the footage from performances. And I think what I love about Coachella is obviously the music, but how immersive they make those shows, right? And like the set design and just everything about it. You don't feel, speaking as if I've been there, it doesn't appear like you would feel as though you're just getting a concert. Like you're getting an experience. Oh, I love that.
For sure.
You're going to have to go too. Like if we've never been, we got to make it happen.
Next year.
Yes. That's the year, man. That's it.
For sure.
That's it.
I was in LA and I saw, well, before COVID.
Yes. Same.
Yeah. Shopping.
Yeah.
And Coachella was coming up and like they had like all the stores like dedicated to Coachella outfits. Like
fashion.
That's like my vibe.
Right? The fashion. That's it too. But that's also a piece of it. It's like you've got the fashion, the stage design, the sound design, like all of it.
Oh, for sure. Do you have a vision for what your concert would look like the set design, the stage? I went to, well, a couple of concerts, but Katy Perry's concert where she was like riding on, I think it was a horse. And it was just the set design was
amazing.
Crazy, amazing.
She would. That's a good question. I honestly don't think I have thought about it yet, but I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, I might have to go home and start like vision boarding and putting that together. Yeah, because I mean, if Katy Perry is riding a massive horse and like Kanye West has like upside down stages and all kinds of crazy things, I mean, it seems like that's the place where you could dream. Like the sky's the limit.
For sure. Like visually now, the capabilities that are out there, like you can do anything.
You could do anything. I feel like my one song called War off my EP, that song I don't know what it would look like, but I picture there would be like that Coachella moment and just like the first chords hit. I could feel like the wind blowing on my face. I could feel all of that. I know it'd be probably like blues and blacks kind of darkness, but as far as the rest of it, that's as far as I got in that dream. So I got to build out a vision around that.
Yeah. So, well, sometimes that's all you need is a starting point. And then as you progress, you figure out what your next move is.
Totally. 100%. 100%. Yeah, Coachella for sure. For sure.
Yeah, that'd be so much fun. Right? I still haven't been to Palm Springs either.
Me neither.
We need to go. Next year's our year.
Basically, when this is over, we're out of here. We're going.
Yeah, 100%. For sure.
100%.
Do you have a message for your fans and our viewers out there?
I love that. Yeah, I mean, a couple things, because I struggle to boil it down to just one thing. But I would say first, just know that it is okay not to be okay, right? Know that it is totally normal not to feel normal. Know that anybody that you're looking at on social media, and honestly, I'm saying this message to myself too, because I need the reminder all the time, they don't have it together. You know, all of us are kind of just trying to figure this all out. And again, we're showing that highlight reel to each other. So I'd say, know that it is totally okay and valid to not feel okay some days and just show up with whatever you've got, and that is enough. And secondly, I mean, I know it sounds kind of cliche, but just follow whatever sets your heart on fire. There have been so many times in my life where I've mapped out what I thought, pursuing music looks like, or you have these milestones of like, oh, I'm going to make it by like this point, or it's going to be this song that does it, or it's, and you kind of paint yourself into a little bit of a box, because if it doesn't go the exact way you planned it, it's easy to get discouraged. And I think especially as creatives, there's no real roadmap on how to do any of this, right? There's no like checkpoints to know if you're doing the right thing at the right time. But I just, anybody listening, follow what calls to you and just don't stop. Be relentless about it. That's it.
Definitely. Well, sometimes it's not easy to get motivated to do that.
Yes.
What motivates you?
That's a great question. That's a great, especially in the pandemic. And that's something that I've talked about with other artists too, because they've said it's so motivating when you can play shows, and even just when you're in a good space and you want to create and you want to write. And then we go through this period of time, and some creatives, it's like, I don't even want to get out of bed some days, let alone, you go write a record and cut a record and do all of these things. But I think that what motivates me is to know that I have the opportunity to have my outlet be what I really love, right? So it's like the days that I feel good and the days that I feel bad are probably good days to create, you know? So that definitely keeps me motivated. And just, I also think of like little Justine who wanted, I don't know, who like dreamed up that we're going to be a singer, we're going to do all of this. On the days that it feels hard or the days that it feels confusing, I think back to like little me being like, we can do this. It's a weird kind of mental picture, but yeah, I kind of just like think of that, those goals and those dreams and pushing through that. And honestly, to my family and the people that I'm surrounded with who believe in me and encourage me, like that's so motivating as well. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's how much I love this. You know, I'm obsessed.
Definitely. What would you tell your younger self?
Oh,
to
man.
little Justine.
Talking to little Justine, I would say to her, don't eat so much candy because you got a lot of cavities. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I would not lecture her. I would tell little Justine that, oh man, don't compare yourself to other people and to just stay the course, because we do all the things we set out to do. You know,
so be very proud of yourself. You've accomplished so much, and you're so talented.
God, thank you. Well, I mean, you know, for me, I'm definitely like a goal chaser. So I'm like, there's so much more to do, and I have so many other goals to accomplish. But that is something that I also am I forget to do, is to stop and just honor what I've done. And not just me, but I think for everybody, like we're always just so focused on the next thing that you kind of forget to look back and be like, little you would be proud that you even got to here, you know, and you stayed the course and you followed your dreams. So yeah, it is kind of nice to take a second and be like, yeah, you know what? I did a lot of those things that I said I was going to do. And there's so much more, and it feels good.
Definitely.
Really
there
good.
is. You've done so much, and there is so much more for you.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
You too. This was great.
Thank
you so much.
Over and over it plays again in my mind. Colder and colder the places that we can't hide. Here we go again like it never ends. Should've saved the hurt, shouldn't have let you in. Now hanging on to the bitter end. How did it come down to this? I'd rather be alone than try to call you home. No, this ain't love no more. Living in a war. I'd rather be a mess than living in the stress. No, this ain't love no more. Living in a war. Playing pretend once again, yeah, like we are fine. How long are we gonna keep up with all these lies? Here we go again like it never ends. Should've saved the hurt, shouldn't have let you in. Now hanging on to the bitter end. How did it come down to this? I'd rather be alone than try to call you home. No, this ain't love no more. Living in a war. I'd rather be a mess than living in the stress. No, this ain't love no more. Living in a war, baby. I'd rather be alone than try to call you home. No, this ain't love no more. Living in a war. turned me to a habit. Feeling for me like you were an addict. And you can't breathe without me. Yeah, you'll miss me every day. Yeah, you'll miss me in disarray. 17 weeks and nothing's changed. Have a lifetime to go. You thought that I would be the one withdrawing. Boxes in my house when you were stalling, and you can't breathe without me. Yeah, you'll miss me every day. Yeah, you'll miss me in disarray. 17 weeks and nothing's changed. Have a lifetime to go. Yeah, you'll miss me every day. Yeah, you'll miss me in disarray. 17 weeks and nothing's changed. Have a lifetime to go. I told you, yeah, you can't breathe without me. Yeah, you'll miss me every day. Yeah, you'll miss me in disarray. 17 weeks and nothing's changed. Have a lifetime to go. Yeah, you'll miss me every day. Yeah, you'll miss me in disarray. 17 weeks and nothing's changed. Have a lifetime to go. I told you. I told you. Cut to that old news and let's do what we do best. Stuck on repeat in reverse, better than the rest. Won't love on you like I do when I put you to the test. Cut to that old news and let's do what we do best. And I'll take away your pain, and I'll make you say my name, and I'll take away your pain, and I'll make you say my name, say my name. Cut to that good mood and let's do what we do best. Hands on my thighs, make you mine, keeping you obsessed. Won't love on you like I do when I put you to the test. Cut to that good mood and let's do what we do best. And I'll take away your pain, and I'll make you say my name, and I'll take away your pain, and I'll make you say my name, say my name. Oh, I know what you like, 11 till the morning, keep me up all night. Oh, I know what you like, 11 till the morning, we can go all night. Oh, I know what you like, 11 till the morning, we can go all night. Oh, you know what I like, and I'll take away your